Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Crossover U podcast, brought to you right here on the Crossover channel. My name's Kanaye. I'm joined with Josh again, and today we are breaking down the national championship game between Florida and Houston. We saw Florida take home the win 65-63. Really good game to cap off what was a really, really good Final Four. Probably, I would say, a top three one that I've ever watched in my life. Could be, number one, maybe number two. Probably wouldn't say number one, but again, really, really good Final Four. Capped off by a really close game. We saw Houston pull away, end up going by 12 at one point, but Florida, in very much Florida 2025 Florida fashion, they come back and they win. Got really crazy at the end of that game, but we're going to break that all down today. Before we get into that, please, as always, if you like this podcast or any other content you see on this channel, engage with the videos in any way you can, whether that's liking the video, subscribing, commenting some of your takes in the comment section below, and just telling other people about it. It really does help with get our videos out to more people. So let's get right into it. Josh, I'll ask you first. Any immediate takeaways from this game?
I loved it. I think every person who loves college basketball or just loves watching basketball in general should have loved watching this game. You can say so many things about it to hate on it. I disagree. And number two, Walter Clayton Jr. is him. He is the greatest Florida Gator who ever lived. In terms of college basketball, at least you can have your choice on football, but he's a March Madness legend through and through. Florida is bordering on a blue blood, which we can talk about later on if we want. I really enjoyed almost every aspect of this game, from the comeback to the ending to just the overall storylines that were coming together in this clash, because everyone thought we were going to get Florida Duke. Obviously, that didn't happen.
Right.
So we had Houston and Florida, which were two teams that people didn't really hate. This was a game that people wanted to see either team win. If Kelvin Sampson won, that's his first. That's amazing. He's done so well as a career. It would be a crowning achievement. And if we had Florida win, Walter Clayton's the GOAT. Florida coaching can somehow get things done regardless what happens. Todd Golden is a first-time winner of everything. The whole sport changes from that alone, which it does regardless. So the magnifications of this game going in and going out are still amazing. Like, I don't really understand where any hate could be placed on this game.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, in a year where we saw so much chalk, with really no upsets, no Cinderellas, of course, like we've talked about it the last few weeks, breaking down the NCAA tournament, the good teams are going to have to play each other eventually. Yeah, again, early, not as much excitement as you would maybe hope for in a typical March Madness setting. But again, we kind of said it, all right, the second round's going to be better. And the second round was a little bit better than the first round. And then we're like, okay, the Final Four is going to be really good. And what was it? Really good. Probably, I mean, you could argue it was the best Final Four ever. I mean, I don't think I would say it is, but it's hard to argue against it. I mean, you saw two games go down to the wire in the Final Four, capped off by another down to the wire, tough defensive game between Florida and Houston. I mean, it was really a game that it was so tough to make a pick. Not just on that for us, but for everyone who was covering college basketball. I mean, going in, these teams match up so perfectly against each other. Florida was, I believe, the second best offense in the country with the ninth best defense, according to KenPom. Houston had the best defense and the ninth best offense. And again, they were just evenly matched. They really kind of both play their games, play the game to their preferred tempo at different points. And there was, I mean, I give Florida a lot of credit for not having the greatest first half possible, but, guys stepped up, which we're going to touch on. And, they were able to find a way to come back and really kind of, they might have not held the lead for a long time, but you could definitely tell that they were going to be coming back and ultimately put themselves in position to win the game, which they did.
Definitely. I mean, I got to give Florida credit for just making things work in ways that I've never seen possible. Every single game past the first round has been a game that I thought Florida should have lost. And they just never lost. And it shows in every single game that Florida can play the first half, heck, the first 45 minutes of a game, not 45, 35 minutes of a game, just unserious, in a way that I would consider it, and then they somehow win. Florida led for a minute. Not actually, I don't even know if it was a minute. They led for 17 seconds in the
Yeah,
first half, and
right.
under a minute they took the lead. I don't, and that's the same thing that's happened in every single game. Florida does not lead games. They are down at halftime. They're down going into the second half. They're down in the last few minutes, and they pull it off. I don't get how this team works, and I don't think I need to get how this team works. It's like watching a magic trick. I get amazed every single time Florida manages to pull it out, and it's every time it's different. Most times it is Walter Clayton Jr. having the magic moments, but he had 11 points this game. He didn't score until what the 30-minute mark. It took him a long, long time to get going,
Right.
and yet he had his clutch moment. That great, great tough three to tie the game at 60 apiece. But it was honestly just the strength of Florida's defense, which, if anything, is the biggest surprise from this game. In a game where the whole thing was defense wins championships, the team that was raised on defense didn't win because of it, which is the most
Yeah.
amazing thing to think about. I mean, the turnovers at the ends, even the middle of the game defense where Florida tried to keep the game within 10 and was successful in doing it. I mean, they made Houston check up a lot of shots that just didn't go in. And yeah, Florida wasn't getting anything in for a while, but if you're going to ask me, I really think that Florida just played the better game, but we just didn't see it because we didn't expect it was going to happen.
Right. And I definitely think it's like you mentioned, they've played in so many games where it looks like they have no chance to win and they come back and win. I mean, that's been their mantra the whole tournament. They've been bend, don't break. And they've had guys step up when they need them to, like you mentioned, Walter Clayton, all the clutch moments he's had in this tournament. And I think in the first half, what really kept them in the game where they probably, I mean, you say Walter Clayton only has one basket in the first half. Elijah Martin's not playing great. And I would probably say Houston is
Definitely.
up. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, Richard stepped up. I mean, you tell me Walter Clayton and Elijah Martin both don't have a great first half. I would probably say Houston goes into the break with a double digit lead, and they were only down three, I want to say, going into the half. And I think a reason why they were able to kind of stay up to pace with Houston was because of the one, Will Richard stepping up, like you just said. I mean, he just the shots. He had 4 threes in the first half, I want to say, and he showcased that he is potentially a pro player. I think he could have played himself into being a draft pick in the second round this year. And speaking of guys playing themselves into being draft picks, I think there's an argument to be made that both Alex Condon and Thomas Howe might have played their ways into being potential first round picks. Alex Condon, not a great tournament, but Thomas Howe really, really did come along throughout the NCAA tournament for Florida. And I think what was so important early in the first half when they couldn't really get much going offensively was just the playmaking that they got from the four spot between Howe and Chinny Lou and Alex Condon as well. Alex Condon was able to, again, not a great tournament from him offensively, but he was able to break out on the fast breaks, get open dunks, open layups. Just being able to see the ball go through the basket, get his confidence up in a tournament where he hasn't played up to his normal standard. And Thomas Howe as well. He had 3 assists in this game, and he is the playmaking. Again, from the four spot, I think was really important for Florida. And as a team, I think Walter Clayton, he takes tough shots, but he was taking. It's tough to say it's a bad shot when it's Walter Clayton taking it, but he was forcing some shots in that first half. But when you saw he kind of didn't have it, he was able to defer and get guys the ball. He ended the game with 7 assists, which I think was really important. A true telltale sign that he's a pro and is very much worth using a first round pick on, where he realizes that he's going to be seeing double coverage the whole game with Houston sending multiple defenders at him. And he was able to make the right reads and get guys open shots. And I think that was really important. And Elijah Martin, that 1 3 he hit later in the second half might have been the biggest shot of the game. I mean, just off rhythm and hand in his face, and he was able to knock it down in a game where he didn't shoot great either.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is kind of interesting because at the end of the day, both teams were very inefficient from both the line and just in the paint in general. There was a lot of, I mean, what do you expect from a dogfight like we saw? You're going to see
Right.
a lot of four shots that come from very strong defensive holes. So I think that's pretty much one of the bigger hates I've seen, but just because it's ineffective of a game doesn't mean it's not a good game. And you got a point. I will say, whenever Clayton makes buckets, though, it's clutch. I mean, he had what, 2-and-1 opportunities, which he both had.
Right.
He had the clutch game tying three. Like his 11 points mattered as much as his 34 in the last game against Auburn. So to really put him down because Houston put all their defense on him, Houston made him struggle for the first half, I think is unfair to him, and it shows when the rest of the team really managed to step up. Obviously, Condon played well. Thomas Howe had that great, like almost reverse and one opportunity that really shifted the momentum to Florida. Martin came alive in the second half. Chenelu, Michael Hamilton, every person on that starting five and even down to the bench had moments in that game. And I think that's what matters so much for this team. And even at the end, in that last play where Houston had 17 seconds to make a shot, more than enough time if you ask me, they doubled Uzan, they doubled Cryer, they just couldn't let an open shot up. And then when everything seemed
and it was
like
Walter Clayton who made the big play.
Exactly. Clayton went out, he went for the block, he forced Emmanuel Sharp to do the almost double dribble, and as soon as he recognized that, he knew it was over. And Condon comes in for the steal, and then that's how you win. I mean, I would have loved a final shot. I definitely would have thought it would have been interesting, but I think just that alone shows how locked in Florida was. Florida wanted that game, and hey, Houston won that game too, don't get me wrong, but I think there's just something in the water. I really can't explain it beyond just any notable stats. There's just something that Florida has with their chemistry that can make them work at a level that you don't ever see from them. Like I watched Florida a lot during the regular season. I never saw Walter Clayton play like this. I've never seen Condon play like this. I barely knew that Chenelu had this power and had this shooting style. They came alive in March, and I think that's really how you show that you can win. If you come alive in March and you come alive in a game like that, I don't know how you lose.
Yeah, and it's really incredible because people talk all about Houston's culture, and by far it is one of the better cultures for a program across the country. But I think not enough attention was given to the job Todd Gold and the staff have done to really build just the culture in Gainesville. I mean, they have their own culture too. Gator boys stay hot. I mean, just considering, I think I saw they might have been the first team ever to win without a single ranked recruit. They didn't have a single 5-star on their team. A lot of their star players like Clayton, Elijah Martin, Condon weren't rated coming out of high school. And I think to have guys buy in the way they did, especially with everything that went down with Title IX investigations with Todd Golan earlier in the season, which he was proven innocent. So that's good for him. But that's something that could, destroy a locker room, and just for the guys to stay even keeled and, stay close, and the connectivity they had was, amazing throughout the entire year. It's just really incredible to see. And you have a guy like Walter Clayton who could have walked this past offseason. I believe he could have went to St. John's. I know he's rumored to go there to follow Patino, who he played for at Iona. But Florida paid him the bag, and he delivered on Florida's investment. And that was really important, of course, getting that first-team All-American level play out of him. And just, again, what Todd Golan and his staff have done, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up, but it's just really incredible to see a team without a lot of known star power going into the year and doing what they did. Again, it's going to drive the way coaches recruit and how the sport, how teams try to mold their rosters in the sport going forward.
Definitely. I can't say enough, but I really think that no one saw this coming. I'm going to be honest with you. Florida was not a top choice. They were ranked 21 in the preseason poll, and even when I put them in my Final Four to start the year, I saw them as a South Carolina style team, like a 6 or 7 seed that would reach the Final Four but wouldn't make it further. I never saw Florida winning the whole thing, and they just came out of nowhere. Even after that undefeated non-conference schedule, people looked down on it. They saw the schedule wasn't that good. They saw the loss to Kentucky. They thought it wasn't going to go anywhere. and Florida responded. They played the SEC perfectly. They won the SEC in its hardest year that's ever been in. They made everything count. They proved everybody wrong. And I really think that's one of the
Right.
greatest stories to hear in the college basketball world, because Todd Golden literally turned a rock into gold the way he turned this team
Yeah.
around. Because last year they were eliminated in the first round by that, ending shot by Colorado, and people didn't think about that. They were another random first round exit team, and they came back. They reloaded well. I thought Elijah Martin was gonna be pretty good. I didn't know he was gonna be like this, and they made things work in ways that you don't always see. Not this. I'm not saying this works for every team too, because the transfer portal is great, but there's a lot of hit and misses. Look at Kansas. Look at
Right.
like UCLA. Look at other teams that have tried using the portal but just haven't really found the place. Florida found it on like their first try. I
Yeah.
I I I,
Yeah.
I have to look at Todd Golden to understand where and how to get his players from, because I want to know that strategy too at this point. Because how do you find players like them that make it work? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, again, all the credit in the world goes to Todd Golden and just the job he did with this roster. And again, the players, I mean, the players got to play, and they all showed up. Again, stay connected. They stayed connected the whole year, no matter what was surrounding the program in terms of news. And they were, again, they won the SEC tournament, and they won a lot of games they probably shouldn't have. And that's kind of what you see out of national champions. A lot of times they have a game where they get punched, and they got to respond and win a game that they probably shouldn't have won. That was probably every game this tournament outside of the first round for them. And yeah, one of the toughest tournament runs I've ever watched from a national champion, and they deserve all the flowers they can get. And yeah, I definitely think Todd Golden's jumped some names in the coaching role. But before we talk a little bit about that, let's get into Houston.
Yeah, yeah,
Obviously, it really is an unfortunate way to see your season end like that without being able to get a shot off. I very much felt that I think it was the right move to try to go for three out of a set if you could have. But if it didn't break down, I mean, but if you couldn't get anything out of it, if it broke down, if Florida blew up whatever actions they were trying to run, I felt you had to drive and try to draw the foul. Their set got blown up completely from the get go, and I really would have liked to see Crier or Uzan or someone else take it to the rim and again try to draw the foul call. You think you probably could have gotten it there, but yeah, they blew it got blown up. Obviously, Sharp kind of pump faked and then almost double dribbled, and I had to watch the ball as the seconds ticked down in the national championship game before Alex Condon stole the ball to end the game. So it's tough. I really do feel for Emmanuel Sharp. That's something that is probably always going to be in the back. It's always going to be in the back of his mind for the rest of his life. And you really do hate to see a player have to go through a moment like that, with just not being able to get a shot off with the championship on the line. But I think Houston did a good job in the first half of playing their game. They stopped Florida for the most part from getting up and down transition outside of Condon breaking free a few times. But they were able to force Florida to play in the half court. A lot of times you saw when Houston would score, Florida would inbound it quick and try to run it up the court just to try to simulate a fake fast breaking away. But again, Houston was great in the half court. They got on the glass early. They out rebounded Florida in the first half. But I think it just the lack of shot making really hurt Houston in this game. Crier had a pretty solid game. Wasn't super efficient, but ended with 19 points, knocked out 4 threes. A lot of them in big moments. But yeah, it's just, I'm not going back on my apology to LJ Cryer and Houston fans of saying LJ Cryer isn't good enough to lead a team. But I think they lack a guy like a Shed. I mean, I think if they have Jamal Shed, they probably win this game. They just need someone who is a floor general, who's a facilitator, not really necessarily score first, but has a compatible jump shot that is good enough to hit when he's open. But yeah, they need someone to get guys involved. I mean, they only had 5 assists in this game as opposed to Florida's 13, I believe. And I think they just really lack that. And again, they don't have guys who are surefire knockdown shooters. I mean, Sharp, of course, has had moments this season, and especially in the tournament, but not a great shooting performance, efficiency wise. Same with Uzan. Jawan Roberts, not the best game out of him. He was 3 for 13 from the field. That of course doesn't help. I felt Javier Francis and Malik Wilson were great off the bench in this game in the first half early. But yeah, I think they it kind of comes down to scoring. It's tough because yeah, you need really really good defense to win championships. But I feel like a lot of times in college basketball, we see that a lack of offensive game really does hurt you in the end. You see that with like a St. John's, a Michigan State at times this year, and right now, I mean, just without having shot making, it's so tough to win in March. And they made it this far. They playing their grit and grind style, hustle over, hard hustle over hype. Eventually they just kind of ran out of luck, and they had a chance to win at the end. You got to give them all the credit in the world. But it is unfortunate to see how it ended for them.
Definitely. And once again, you got to give it so much credit to Kelvin Sampson. This was his breakout year.
Of course,
he
yeah.
got what he was looking for. I mean, I, like typical, distrusted the 1 seeded Houston like I have for the past 3 years. I didn't even have making the Sweet 16 this year. They came back. They made the Final Four. They had the revenge game against Duke from last year. They won that game spectacularly. And they looked unstoppable. They were up 12. They had a 94% chance of winning the game at that 16-minute mark when they were up 42-30. And it just kind of fell apart from there. And it's not really on Houston's fault. Florida's a team that you just can't really beat as in any way, shape, or form. That's what I'm learning at this point in the college basketball world.
Yeah.
Houston played it so well. Like, you got to give it to the team as a whole, and particularly Kelvin Sampson. The defense showed. They had a ton of good blocks. They played in the paint furiously. They would not let anything go in if it was within that little black box. They couldn't let anybody get popped out for three. Like, it was really a man-to-man type of game. The issue is, like Kanaye said, there's just no offense. There was no offense. The shooting was just not where it should have been. There was a lot of open shots that Houston had in the first half that honestly should have and could have went in. I guess maybe that's luck for the draw, but I really felt like in the moment those shots should have been coming in, especially in the Natty game. And to finish off the game with back-to-back turnovers by Emmanuel Sharp in particular, and the final scene playing out like that, you got to feel something. I do feel horrible for Emmanuel Sharp. And a guy like LJ Crowder, who could have had 2 natties in his time in college basketball with 2 separate teams. That very, very rarely, if ever, happens. I would have went for 2. I would have tried to drive to the rim, draw contact, like Kanaye said, maybe get an and one. I don't know if they would have won an overtime game, though. So I understand why they went for 3.
Yeah.
And Sharp was the guy to get it, too. I think the plan was that Sharp was going to get the ball, and he probably had no choice but to shoot out from there. I honestly would have shot it as well. If it got blocked, you can still get it probably back, maybe foul and hope for the best. But it is what it is. I will ask though, do you think Kelvin Sampson retires?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question to bring up. I definitely think it might be looming in the back of his head. Do I think he does? No, but I do think he is thinking. He just made it to a national championship game. He lost in, a game where he really had full chance to win. And to see it end the way it did, it's tough. And again, it's college basketball. There's no guarantee you ever get back to that stage. Granted, he does have a really good incoming freshman class and returning stars like Sharp, as well as Joseph Tugler, which are both important gets to get back for that Houston program. But again, it's tough. He's 72, 73 years old. He's not, doesn't have a lot more time coaching left. But I do think he's the type of guy that he's probably going to die coaching basketball. But again, I'm not ruling it out. It's definitely going to be in the back of his mind. All right, I just had a really good chance to win a national championship. I'm not getting any younger. There's no guarantee I ever get back to the stage. And it's tough because he's losing a lot of program culture guys. And in today's day and age in college basketball with the transfer portal and NIL, it's so hard to get guys to buy in to the culture that he's built in Houston. And there's no guarantee yet. He's bringing in a loaded freshman class of, what was it, 4 or 5 stars? And yeah, I mean, again, really good players, but there's no guarantee that they're going to be guys who are willing to play a role, buy into the way Kelvin Sampson plays and the way Kelvin Sampson coaches and runs his program. So I don't think he does, but there's definitely I'd probably give it a 75-25 split.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, I would have him run it back this year because the Houston's looking like the best team next year. You just went to the Natty. I think there is still time to make it work, and I think that this is probably the open window that he has. But if it doesn't work next year, I would probably hang it up. But honestly, it's definitely up to him. He
Yeah,
definitely could end up
that's a
not.
fair right.
Houston in the 21st century for college basketball has been defined by Kelvin Sampson. He is the reason why Houston is
Yeah,
the
most
way it is
definitely.
right now. I mean, like this is everything that Houston needed since the Phi Slamma Jamma days, and they finally made it back. Still no ring for the Cougars. I really wish they do get one soon because they are such a storied
Yeah,
program in the college basketball universe. And I think for that reason alone, Sampson should stay at least one more year.
yeah, yeah. If I were him, I would definitely stick it out next year, and then see how things go at the end of next season. But I think this is going to be the last segment we touch on here. What do you think this championship has done for Todd Golden? Do you think it's elevated him into being a top 10, potential top 5 coach in the country?
I think it pretty much confirms his spot in modern college basketball coaching. His story will be told for the next 2 to 3 decades about just how easy, not easy, but just how skilled any coach can be at any level. I think it changes a lot of athletic
Right.
directors' minds when it comes to hiring coaches. Keep in mind, Todd Golden coached as a head coach only at San Francisco, which they made the tournament in
Yeah.
2022. They didn't win a game, but they had potential. Golden had potential. This is only his 5th year coaching overall. He signed in, he saw Florida as an opportunity school, and he took the bait. And honestly, he made a great choice. Florida made a great choice. And I think a lot of the future for both elect directors and coaches should be spent, one, on understanding how coaching works at really any level, because he honestly could have done that anywhere else. I felt like Florida was a nice place to do it, but any Power Five school probably would have worked for a guy like Todd Golden. And two, how to use the transfer portal. As we both noted, none of the guys he picked up were 5 stars. None of these guys were even ranked coming
Right.
into high school. These are players that he built. It's the development that matters the most in this sport beyond anything else. And to turn guys who would have never
Most
sniffed the
definitely.
draft to certified first round picks is a legendary story. And I think that alone should make Todd Golden a top coach for now and a legend all time. And his career just started. We could be watching the next Jay Wright, Coach K, for all we care.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like how you mentioned that. I mean, I really do think universities are going to start to maybe shift how they plan to go after potential coaching hires. I just think we're really starting to see the transition of some of these older legends and older fashioned style coaches kind of on their way out. We're seeing the younger coaches kind of come along, headlined by, of course, Todd Golden and John Shire at Duke. I mean, these guys are very player first as opposed to coaches of still the present, but primarily the past. Where uh, I'm not saying where they're about themselves in a matter where they don't care about their players, but they're very much person who needs as much say as possible and as much control as possible. And I think that's why a lot of those guys don't work in the NBA, because in a league where the players are making much more than the coaches, it's tough to have the say that you have. It's tough to have the amount of control and say in how things go to the same degree that you have it in college. And with that being said, I think there's a really good chance we see Todd Golden follow in Billy Donovan's footsteps and make that jump to the NBA in the coming years. Um,
Mm-hmm.
one of his assistants sat down with the Field of 60. I forget the name off the top of his head, but really smart guy. And basically, he's in their analytics department, and it's really incredible to see how Florida's coaching staff is constructed, where you have guys who are maybe on the nerdier side, really analytic driven, almost something like out of Moneyball, where maybe these guys haven't touched a basketball in their life, but they know how analytics work. They know the smartest moves to make coaching wise in basketball games, and they're able to recommend what to do to Todd Golden and his staff on the bench. You mix those guys, basketball heads, people who know the sport, who've played it, and it's the perfect meshing of character traits and backgrounds where you have a team that is so good in tight spots where they're able to come back and play really well in close games. So yeah, I definitely think Todd Golden probably sticks it out in Gainesville for a few more seasons, and he definitely could be in the running to get back to a Final Four. Most definitely, which is probably the job he's going to be able to do in the transfer portal. I'm sure Florida is at a little bit of a disadvantage considering that they had to play this long. They kind of are getting a late start to recruiting out of the transfer portal, but I'm sure he's going to hit in the portal. They know the type of guys that they want, and I'm sure they're going to return at least a few guys that they're going to play larger roles next season. Florida, again, could be right back in the mix of getting back to a Final Four, winning the national championship.
Certainly. I didn't even think about that route for Golden, but yeah, he fits a very, very strong NBA style mold. And we are seeing that.
Yeah, very reminiscent of Joe Mazzulla in some ways.
Ooh, I haven't. Yes, he could be. I mean, Missoula has more of a humorous personality than Golden does, but
Yeah,
I definitely see
right.
the purpose you're getting at. And I mean, if we're looking at how college basketball has been playing compared to NBA with coaching, we are noticing that there's a growing connection. I mean, Kevin Young performed very well at BYU, and he was an assistant coach. Miami just hired
Right.
an assistant coach on the NBA. We're seeing just an overall growth in talent from the NBA to college basketball, and maybe we're going to see it return the favor back. And if Golden's that guy, he could really play some NBA ball with the other guys in the big leagues. So
Definitely.
that's what I am. But I want to keep him here in the college basketball world for as long as we physically can.
Yeah.
He's going to be
Right.
a big guy for a long time, and I'm glad he will. Or he is.
Definitely.
But
Yeah. I mean, it is going to be interesting to see if that ends up playing out. Just with how analytic driven the NBA is, and that is starting to kind of mesh its way into college basketball as well. But I think that pretty much does take care of everything we have for this national championship recap video. Again, got to give your flowers to Florida. They won so many hard fought games and really capped off one of the most fun college basketball seasons that I had watching. I mean, from start to finish, the season was really fun to watch. A lot of great stories across the country this year. A lot of good teams. Only one takes home, gets to hang up a banner, and that is going to be the Florida Gators. So, congrats to them. Congrats to Todd Golden, Walter Clayton Jr., Elijah Martin, those guys. I mean, great college career for those two, between Martin and Clayton, just everything that they've done. And yeah, I'm excited for the rest of this transfer portal and go into next year.
and I agree. I loved this season. This is probably my favorite season to watch. There were so many moments that we'll break down in future months, and I love this tournament. I know a lot of people are going to look back and they're going to say they did not like the 2025 March Madness tournament. I loved this tournament. There were so many good games that people are ignoring and will ignore that we're going to look back on and say, wow, that did happen. We saw that game maybe not in person, but we saw college basketball at its finest. Yes, the upsets weren't there. Yes, we didn't have the Cinderella team or any like special
Right.
moments. But even in a world full of chalk, there are still beautiful drawings and pictures that can be made from just the sport. I mean, the Florida run is going to be remembered for a decade more. I mean, that's something you don't ever recreate because I don't know if we're going to see another Walter Clayton Jr. in our lifetime. And just
Right.
the overall power of the number one seeds. Like this is a rare event to get all number one seeds in the Final Four. It's rare to get a 1v1 in the Natty. It's rare to get a close game like that. We haven't had a Natty this close in a long time, maybe since 2019, if you really want to put it in that scenario.
Right.
Like the moments that we saw in this March in this season are unforgettable, and I can't hate it. It only makes me love the sport even more.
Yeah. I mean, again, one of the greatest years I've watched college basketball. Um, Again, people talk about the chalk. It is unfortunate not to see a Cinderella. But again, the good teams had to play each other eventually, and that's what we got. And they delivered in the Final Four. Really, really good Final Four. Definitely can make an argument for being the best ever. But again, really do appreciate you guys tuning in this entire season on the Crossover U. Please stay tuned because there will be more content we are bringing between the transfer portal and some of our overviews of teams going to next year. So please be on the lookout for that. The content will not be stopping. But again, me and Josh, thank you all for watching the season. It's been a great first year with Crossover U. And I'm sure we're going to get the viewership numbers up a little bit as we keep going. And yeah, again, please engage with the content anyway you can. That all really does help in growing this podcast. So thank you all again for tuning in this season. And until the next episode, we'll see you all next time.